The vast amphitheater of the Judgment Hall hummed with tense energy. Thousands of representatives from across the galaxy sat in tiered rows that stretched upward into darkness, each species segregated by environmental preferences. Some required methane atmospheres in sealed chambers. Others basked in the ultraviolet light streaming from specialized emitters. Despite their profound biological differences, they shared a common purpose today: deciding the fate of humanity. Ambassador Illyra Vance stood alone at the central platform, her tall figure composed despite the gravity of the proceedings. Her silver-streaked dark hair was pulled back in a severe style that accentuated her sharp features. After decades in diplomatic service, she had mastered the art of appearing calm when surrounded by hostility. That skill was being tested to its limit today. The Kthar representative, High Elder Shalmorth, was concluding his speech. His translucent exoskeleton shimmered under the lights as he gestured with 4 of his 6 limbs simultaneously, a sign of extreme agitation among his kind. And so the evidence is undeniable. The Kthar's voice resonated through translation fields. In merely 2 centuries since achieving faster-than-light travel, humans have established colonies on 17 worlds outside their solar system. Their rate of technological advancement outpaces every prediction model. Their population growth defies restraint. Their cultural adaptability makes them impossible to predict or control. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Illyra kept her expression neutral, but her hand tightened imperceptibly on the edge of the podium. Most concerning, Shalmorth continued, is their persistent research into technologies expressly prohibited by Council regulations. Artificial intelligence beyond sanctioned parameters, weaponized applications of dimensional physics, genetic manipulation outside established guidelines. The Kthar paused, compound eyes surveying the chamber. The history of the Galactic Concord Union spans 50,000 years. We have seen civilizations rise and fall. We have learned which paths lead to calamity. Humanity refuses our wisdom and guidance at every turn. They are not simply a species in its adolescence. They are a contagion, a virus that will infect and destabilize everything we have built. Illyra finally spoke, her voice calm yet penetrating. The Kthar representative speaks of history. Let us indeed remember history. She activated the central display, projecting images of joint human-alien scientific expeditions, medical breakthroughs developed by human researchers that saved millions of non-human lives, and artistic collaborations that had enriched multiple cultures. In the 30 years since humanity joined the GCU, we have contributed more medical advancements than any other new member species in recorded history. Our theoretical physicists have solved problems that had stumped Council scientists for centuries. Our artists and philosophers have embraced and celebrated the diversity of galactic culture. She switched to different images. Human rescue teams evacuating alien civilians from a moon experiencing catastrophic tectonic activity. Human diplomatic corps mediating a centuries-old conflict between 2 ancient species. Yes, we move quickly. Yes, we adapt rapidly. These are not flaws. They are strengths we bring to this union. The Kthar see our differences as threatening. We see them as complementary. The chamber erupted in mixed reactions. Some species applauded, others emitted high-pitched whistles of disagreement, and still others remained ominously silent. The Presidium leader, a Zenth whose massive gelatinous form contained a network of highly evolved neural clusters, raised appendages for silence. The Council has heard arguments from all primary concerned parties. We will now vote on Resolution K. 9872, the containment of human expansion. Illyra watched as representatives cast their votes through neural interfaces, atmospheric signals, or physical gestures, depending on their biology. The massive display showed a tally in real time. Her heart sank as the numbers shifted decisively toward one outcome. The Presidium leader's voice resonated with finality. The Council has decided, by a vote of 718 to 293, with 112 abstentions, Resolution K. 9872 is approved. Humanity is hereby contained to its solar system. All human vessels outside Sol must return within one standard cycle. A purge perimeter will be established to prevent unauthorized exit or entry. This judgment is final. The amphitheater erupted into chaos. Some representatives celebrated, others protested, but most simply began filing out, their business concluded. The fate of an entire species was just another agenda item for many of them. Alara stood perfectly still, her mind racing through implications and options. She acknowledged the presidium with a formal bow, protocol even in devastating defeat, and walked with measured steps from the chamber. Only when she reached her private quarters aboard the Earth diplomatic vessel did she allow her composure to crack. Not with tears or rage, but with grim determination. She pressed her palm against a seemingly ordinary wall panel, which scanned her biometrics before revealing a hidden communication array. Terran High Command, Secure Channel Activation. Authentication Vance, Epsilon, Helix 7, Omega. A few seconds passed before a holographic figure materialized. Admiral Helena Chun, her weathered face grave. Ambassador, we've been monitoring the proceedings. The outcome is unfortunate. It's worse than unfortunate, Helena. It's existential. Alara glanced at the door to ensure privacy. I'm initiating Duskfall protocol. The Admiral's expression darkened. Are you certain? Once implemented, there's no turning back. The alternatives are extinction or permanent imprisonment in our own solar system. The purge perimeter will be fully operational within 6 months. We need to act now, while we still have assets scattered throughout Council space. Admiral Chen nodded slowly. I'll alert the Joint Chiefs and the Secretary General. All cell leaders will be activated within 24 hours. What's your status? I'll maintain my position as long as possible. The Council expects protest and negotiation attempts. I'll give them exactly that, while our operations proceed. Understood. Good luck, Alara. Earth stand with you. The communication ended, leaving Alara alone with thoughts of what was to come. Duskfall had been developed decades ago, when humanity first encountered alien civilizations and realized the universe might not be welcoming. Not merely a defensive contingency, it was a comprehensive shadow strategy for human survival and expansion outside any controlling influence. Its core premise was simple yet audacious. If rejected by the galactic community, humanity would not merely survive, it would thrive in the darkness between the stars. As Alara prepared to return to the council chambers for what would be days of futile appeals, the wheels of Duskfall were already turning across hundreds of worlds and vessels throughout the galaxy. It was too late to stop humanity. The council just didn't know it yet. Commander Marcus Thorne stood on the bridge of the TDF Shadow Rift, a modified Nighthawk-class stealth frigate that officially didn't exist on any fleet registry. Through the viewport, he watched as civilian transport vessels slipped into the cover of a dense asteroid field, their signals dampened, their paths irregular to avoid pattern detection. Status report, he demanded, turning to his executive officer. Lieutenant Commander Savia, a compact woman with close-cropped hair, consulted her neural interface. Group 7 transports are successfully masked. Decoy vessels have begun their return trajectories towards Sol, as ordered. GCU monitoring buoys in this sector remain inactive. Marcus nodded. And our precious cargo? Dr. Eris is secure in the Science Bay. He's been working nonstop since boarding. Marcus suppressed a smile. That sounded like his younger brother, brilliant, obsessive, and completely oblivious to normal human concerns like sleep or food when engaged in his work. Tell him I'll visit once we're safely underway, Marcus said, returning his attention to the operation at hand. Operation Fading Exodus was the first phase of Duskfall, a carefully choreographed shell game conducted across hundreds of light years. While the majority of human vessels made visible journeys back toward Earth as ordered, key personnel, advanced technology, and essential resources were being diverted to secret destinations. For every 10 ships that returned to Sol, one disappeared into the vastness of space with altered identification signatures. For every 100 civilians who returned home, A handful of scientists, engineers, and military specialists vanished from official records. The deception wasn't perfect. Sacrifices had to be made to maintain the illusion of compliance. Some ships were deliberately abandoned or scuttled, their crews transferred to other vessels. In a few cases, ships were surrendered to GCU patrols with compliant crews who genuinely believed they had simply gotten lost on their return journey. "Commander," Savia interrupted his thoughts, "we have a situation. GCU patrol vessel changing course, heading toward Transport Group 9's position." Marcus frowned. Group 9 carried irreplaceable quantum computing cores and a team of AI researchers. Distance and time to intercept: 30 minutes at current speeds. They haven't increased to pursuit velocity, so they may not suspect anything yet. Options: we could deploy electromagnetic chaff in their sensor path, disguised as a natural phenomenon. Or, Savia hesitated. "Speak freely, Lieutenant Commander. We could use the Phantom Protocol. They wouldn't even know we were there." The Phantom Protocol was an experimental technology developed by Dr. Eris Thorne, a method of temporarily shifting a vessel slightly out of phase with normal spacetime, rendering it effectively invisible to conventional sensors. It had never been field-tested against actual GCU technology. Marcus weighed the risks. Using untested technology risked exposing their capabilities if it failed. But conventional countermeasures might not be enough. Notify Group 9 to prepare for Phantom Protocol implementation. Have Dr. Thorne meet me in tactical immediately. 10 minutes later, Marcus stood beside his brother in the tactical center. Despite being siblings, they were studies in contrast. Marcus tall and solid with a commanding presence, Eris slender and perpetually disheveled, with quick, nervous movements. "It will work," Eris insisted, running calculations through his neural interface, the data flowing across screens too fast for normal vision to follow. "The quantum field distortion will bend all sensor emissions around the transport vessels. They'll register as nothing more than background radiation." "And your certainty level is?" Marcus asked. Eris paused, irritated by the question. 98.7%. The remaining uncertainty is due to variables we can't control, like whether the GCU has developed new detection methods they haven't shared with the scientific community. "That's good enough for me," Marcus decided. "Implement the protocol." The next 20 minutes were tense as they watched the GCU patrol vessel approach the transport group's position. At the crucial moment, Eris activated the Phantom Protocol. The transports seemed to shimmer slightly before fading from visual sensors. According to their instruments, the GCU ship continued on its original course, showing no indication it had detected anything unusual. "It worked," Savia breathed, disbelief evident in her voice. Eris looked smug. Of course it worked. The mathematics were sound. Marcus clapped his brother on the shoulder. "Congratulations, Dr. Thorne. You've just significantly improved our odds of survival." 3 days later, the Shadow Rift and its convoy reached their destination, a planetary system officially designated as uninhabitable in GCU records due to high radiation levels and atmospheric toxicity. The reality, however, was quite different. As they approached the third planet, Ethelberg, Marcus watched his brother's expression. This was Eris's first visit to a sanctuary world, though he had been involved in designing aspects of its infrastructure. "Impressive, isn't it?" Marcus said as the planet came into view. The surface appeared barren and hostile, a deliberate disguise. Sophisticated holographic and atmospheric distortion systems projected an image of desolation to any passing vessels or probes. Below that facade, in vast underground complexes and within hollowed-out mountain ranges, thrived a human colony of nearly 100,000 people. "How long has this been here?" Eris asked, his voice hushed with wonder. The initial settlement was established 15 years ago, disguised as a short-term mining operation. When the operation failed and was abandoned, the real work began. The Shadow Rift received clearance codes from the Hidden Control Center and began its descent through carefully masked entry corridors. As they dropped below the false sky projection, A stunning vista opened before them, a massive cavern stretching for kilometers, illuminated by artificial sunlight. Agricultural zones, residential districts, manufacturing facilities, and research centers spread out in concentric circles around a central hub. "Welcome to Ethelberg," Marcus said as they docked at the main station. One of 12 sanctuary worlds established under Duskfall Protocol, and soon to be your new research headquarters. Eris could barely contain his excitement as they disembarked. A delegation waited to greet them, led by Governor Raina Chakraborty, a former aerospace engineer who had helped design the colony's environmental systems. Commander Thorne, Dr. Thorne, she greeted them formally before breaking into a warm smile. "Your arrival is most welcome. The Phase Technology Division has been eagerly awaiting your input, Doctor." As they walked through the colony, Marcus observed his brother's growing amazement at the scale and sophistication of the hidden world. Entire neighborhoods housed families who appeared to be living normal lives despite being in an enormous cavern on a supposedly uninhabitable planet. Schools, hospitals, recreation areas, all the infrastructure of civilization had been recreated below ground. "How is this possible?" Eris finally asked. "The resource requirements alone." "Careful planning," the governor replied. "Each sanctuary world specializes in certain areas. Ethelberg focuses on advanced physics, quantum technologies, and stealth systems. New Avalon handles biosciences and agriculture. Heimdall specializes in military training and weapons development." She led them to a viewpoint overlooking a massive construction facility. "And this is our latest achievement, the first shipyard of the Shadow Fleet, built entirely without GCU knowledge or resources." Below them, 3 vessels were under construction, sleek, predatory shapes unlike anything in Earth's official fleet. Their hulls were composed of a material that seemed to drink in light, making their outlines difficult to focus on even from this close distance. "Phase-integrated hull material," Eris noted with professional appreciation. "Quantum displacement drives. Are those dimensional buffer arrays?" "Indeed," the governor confirmed. "Based partly on your theoretical designs. We've been implementing your research for years, Doctor. Now you'll have the chance to direct it personally." Later, in a secure briefing room, Marcus and Eris were shown the full scope of the ShadowNet, the clandestine infrastructure connecting the sanctuary worlds and other human outposts outside GCU awareness. Admiral Kenzo Takeda, the military coordinator for the Ethelberg sector, explained the system's intricacies. "We've established a network of quantum entangled communication relays throughout key regions of the galaxy. Untraceable, instantaneous communication across any distance. Holograms displayed the locations of hidden jump gates, supply caches, and sensor blind spots that have been carefully mapped and exploited. For transportation, we've developed what we call ghost routes, paths through subspace that don't register on standard GCU sensors. Combined with the phase technology Dr. Thorne has pioneered, our vessels can move throughout GCU space with near-perfect invisibility." "And they have no idea?" Eris asked. Admiral Takeda's expression was grim. "The Kthar may suspect something. They've increased patrol activities in sectors where we've had near misses. But they have no proof, and the other species are too complacent to take their concerns seriously." Marcus studied the strategic display thoughtfully. "How many people have we successfully evacuated from GCU space?" "Approximately 2 million across all sanctuary worlds and orbital habitats," the Admiral replied. "Another 500,000 are integrated into deep cover operations within GCU territories, observation posts, supply networks, intelligence gathering." "And Earth?" Eris asked, his voice quieter. Admiral Takeda's expression softened slightly. "Earth endures. The purge perimeter has been fully implemented, cutting off all official communication and travel. Population centers are under strict GCU monitoring, but the shadow resistance operates even there, preparing for eventual reunification." As the briefing concluded, Marcus found himself standing alone with his brother at a viewport overlooking the subterranean city. "It's a lot to process," he said, noting Eris's pensive expression. I've spent years developing theories and technologies, Eris replied, but I never fully understood their application until now. The scale of this operation, it's beyond anything I imagined. Survival often requires imagination, Marcus said, and humanity has always excelled at that. 5 years passed. In the grand halls of the GCU headquarters, the matter of humanity had become a footnote in galactic affairs, a problem successfully contained and largely forgotten by most species. Earth remained isolated behind the purge perimeter, its fleet dismantled, its colonies reclaimed. Occasional reports from monitoring stations indicated a civilization in decline, struggling with reduced resources and confinement to a single star system. Thar High Elder Shulmorth, now elevated to the Presidium Council, considered the containment of humanity among his greatest achievements. During a routine security briefing, he barely paid attention as junior officers reported on border activities and patrol schedules. And finally, there have been 17 reports of anomalous energy signatures in the Whisperwind Nebula sector over the past 3 months, concluded a young Sylvani officer named Lyra. Her delicate features were set in an expression of concern that Shulmorth found irritating. Sensor malfunctions, he dismissed with a wave of his upper limbs. The radiation from that nebula has always interfered with standard equipment. Lyra persisted. With respect, Elder, the pattern of these anomalies suggests possible ship movements. And there was the unexplained loss of the scout vessel Distant Horizon in that same region last month. The official investigation concluded that was a navigation error leading to collision with an uncharted asteroid, Shulmorth said firmly. Do you have evidence to contradict this finding? Not evidence precisely, Lyra admitted, but inconsistencies. The final transmission mentioned unusual sensor readings just before contact was lost, and the debris field was incomplete, as if certain parts of the vessel had been removed before it was destroyed. Shulmorth's compound eyes fixed on her with cold intensity. Officer Lyra, you were assigned to this division because of your analytical skills. But analysis must be based on facts, not intuition. The humans are contained. Their threat is neutralized. Do not waste resources chasing phantoms. Lyra dipped her head in formal acknowledgement, but her silvery eyes remained troubled. As you wish, Shelder. After the briefing, Lyra returned to her small office in the intelligence division. Despite the Elder's dismissal, she couldn't shake her concerns. For months, she had been collecting reports of strange occurrences throughout GCU space. Unexplained energy readings, missing patrol vessels, glitches in long-range sensors that always seem to happen in specific regions. Officially, these were all unrelated incidents with mundane explanations. But Lyra's species possessed an intuitive connection to energy patterns that went beyond technology. The Sylvani had evolved in electromagnetic forests, developing senses that could detect subtle fluctuations in energy fields. And something in these reports resonated with her on a primal level. She accessed her private database, a collection of all the anomalies she had documented over 5 years. When visualized as a pattern across galactic sectors, they created a network of lines and nodes that couldn't be coincidental. Still chasing your ghosts? A voice asked from her doorway. Lyra quickly deactivated the display and turned to find Turek, a fellow intelligence officer of the reptilian draconi species. Just reviewing old cases, she said carefully. Tarek's scaled lips curve in what passed for a smile among his kind. The High Elder is right, you know. Even if there were still humans operating outside their containment zone, what threat could they pose? Their technology was generations behind ours. That we knew of, Lyra said softly. Paranoia doesn't suit you, Lyra. Turek leaned against her doorframe. Besides, we have more immediate concerns. Command is redirecting resources to investigate unusual activity in the Outer Rim. Some kind of unknown vessels have been sighted near abandoned monitoring stations. Lyra's attention sharpened. Unknown vessels? Not cataloged in any GCU registry. Correct. Probably just independent traders or resource prospectors from non-affiliated species. But procedure requires investigation. After Turek left, Lyra returned to her data adding this new information. The outer rim, the farthest reaches of explored space, bordering the vast, unknown regions beyond the galaxy's edge. Why would anyone be interested in abandoned stations in such remote locations? Her intuition hummed like a warning bell. Meanwhile, on Ethelberg and the other sanctuary worlds, humanity had not merely survived. It had flourished in ways that would have horrified the GCU. Free from council restrictions on research and development, human scientists had made technological leaps that compressed centuries of advancement into years. Dr. Eris Thorne stood in his laboratory, observing as technicians activated the latest prototype of his warp signature erasure system. The device, no larger than a standard power core, created a bubble of distorted space-time around vessels, rendering them completely invisible to conventional detection methods. Full power test commencing, announced his chief assistant, Dr. Imani Okeke, monitoring for quantum field stability. The device hummed softly as it powered up, a holographic display showing the expanding field of influence. The test chamber, designed to simulate conditions in open space, registered exactly as it should. Empty. Perfect erasure, Imani confirmed. Not even a quantum echo. Eris nodded with satisfaction. Prepare for mass production. Every vessel in the Shadow Fleet should be equipped within 3 months. His laboratory was just one of dozens throughout the Sanctuary network developing technologies that pushed the boundaries of physics. In other facilities, researchers had perfected phase armor capable of shifting portions of a ship's hull briefly out of normal space-time to avoid weapon impacts. Zero-point energy extractors provided nearly limitless power. Quantum computing cores achieved sentience-level problem-solving without crossing into the dangerous territory of true artificial intelligence. These advances had transformed the Shadow Fleet from a collection of retrofitted vessels into the most advanced armada ever created by human hands. And it had all happened right under the GCU's nose. Commander Marcus Thorne, now Admiral Thorne, stood on the bridge of the flagship Nemesis, reviewing deployment patterns with his staff. The holographic display showed the positions of Shadow Fleet vessels throughout the galaxy, hidden in nebulae, asteroid fields, and other natural features that complicated sensor readings. Strike Group Epsilon reports successful test deployment of the new stealth drones, reported Captain Savia, now his fleet operations director. Full sensor penetration of the purge perimeter achieved with 0 detection. Excellent. Marcus nodded. What's the status of the Earth Resistance Network? Growing stronger daily. The underground manufacturing facilities beneath Old Siberia are now producing phase technology components. Distributed production means no single facility draws enough power to trigger GCU monitoring alerts. Marcus studied the strategic display with satisfaction. In 5 years, they had built a parallel civilization, invisible, distributed, and increasingly powerful. The original Dustfall Protocol had estimated it would take 20 years to reach this level of readiness. Human ingenuity and determination had accelerated that timeline dramatically. A communication alert interrupted his thoughts. Priority message from Whisperwind Outpost, announced the communications officer. GCU research vessel detected on approach to Mining Station A7. Marcus tensed. Station A7 wasn't just a mining operation. It housed one of their quantum communication hubs, linking several sectors of the ShadowNet. If the GCU discovered it, time to intercept, 2 hours at their current speed. They appear to be conducting a standard survey mission, but their trajectory will bring them within sensor range of the station. Marcus made a quick decision. Deploy Spectre Team. Authorized for Phantom Protocol intervention. No casualties if possible, but the station cannot be compromised. Within minutes, a specialized strike vessel detached from the Nemesis and entered ghost space, emerging near the Whisperwind Nebula. The team aboard, led by Commander Reyna Liu, had conducted similar operations 5 times in the past 2 years. Each time, they had successfully prevented GCU discovery while leaving no trace of human intervention. Their approach was textbook. Using phase technology, they shadowed the GCU research vessel, a Silvani-designed exploration ship named Stellar Seeker with a crew of 12 scientists and 5 support personnel. When the vessel paused to collect nebulous samples, the Spectre team struck. Targeted electromagnetic pulses temporarily disabled the ship's primary systems. Before emergency protocols could engage, phase-shifted commandos boarded through the hull without breaking containment. Using memory suppression technology derived from Dr. Thorne's research, they sedated the crew, altered the ship's logs and navigation records, and introduced subtle damage to the propulsion system. When the crew awakened hours later, they would find themselves dealing with an apparent system failure caused by nebula radiation, with no memory of the missing time, and new core settings that would take them well away from Mining Station A7. The operation was completed without a single injury to the GCU crew. Commander Liu reported success to Admiral Thorne, who authorized their return to the Nemesis. Neither of them realized that Officer Lyra had been conducting a private, unofficial monitoring operation on the Stellar Seeker, or that she had detected the faint quantum distortions that preceded the electromagnetic pulse. It wasn't much, but for someone with her unique sensitivities, it was enough to confirm her suspicions. Someone was operating in GCU space without authorization. Someone with technology sophisticated enough to evade standard detection methods. Someone who could board a vessel, alter its systems, and disappear without a trace. Lyra began compiling a new report, one she would not share with her superiors just yet, not until she had irrefutable evidence. The galaxy continued its seemingly peaceful existence for a few more months. Then everything changed. The first attacks came without warning. 3 GCU outposts in the Outer Rim went silent simultaneously. Investigation teams found only debris and unusual energy signatures. Within weeks, colonies started falling. First isolated settlements, then entire worlds on the galactic periphery. The unknown enemy identified itself in a transmission broadcast across all GCU frequencies after destroying a Cathar military installation. We are the Void Swarm. Your existence is incompatible with the purity of space. All organic and technological resources will be reclaimed. Resistance is inefficient. The Void Swarm ships defied conventional understanding. Massive, biomechanical entities that seem to consume rather than destroy, absorbing matter and energy from their targets to grow stronger. Their weapons cut through GCU defenses as if they were made of paper. Their hulls regenerated damage almost instantly. The GCU, grown complacent after millennia of relative peace, found itself woefully unprepared for this threat. Military responses were disorganized and ineffective. Civilian evacuations quickly became chaotic retreats. Species that had coexisted under council law for thousands of years suddenly found themselves competing for resources and safe havens. In the council chambers, panic replaced procedure. The Presidium struggled to coordinate a unified response as representatives demanded protection for their homeworlds. Cathar High Elder Shulmorth, once dismissive of security concerns, now found himself unable to provide the leadership needed in a true crisis. Officer Lyra, vindicated by events, but finding no satisfaction in it, had been promoted to Director of Emergency Intelligence. Her warnings about unusual activity, though too late to prevent the initial attacks, had demonstrated foresight that the Council desperately needed. The Void Swarm has destroyed or consumed 27 worlds, she reported to the emergency session of the Council. Their advance continues at an accelerating rate. At current speeds, they will reach the core worlds within 60 days. Our combined fleets cannot halt them? Asked the Zent Presidium leader, its gelatinous form pulsating with distress colors. The latest engagement in the Nix sector resulted in the loss of 62% of our deployed forces, Lyra replied grimly. Their technology is unlike anything we've encountered. Conventional weapons have minimal effect. Their ships appear to adapt to our tactical approaches within minutes. There must be a solution, insisted Shulmorth, his exoskeleton clicking nervously. The Council has faced threats before. Not like this, Lyra said firmly, and never with our defenses so compromised. What do you mean, compromised? Demanded a Draconi representative. Lyra activated a galactic display. Our military readiness has declined by 43% over the past century. Research into advanced defensive technologies was deemed unnecessary and underfunded. And she hesitated, knowing the reaction her next words would provoke. We expelled the one species that might have helped us. Silence fell over the chamber. Everyone knew which species she meant. The humans were contained for good reason, Shulmorth said stiffly. Their reckless approach to technology and expansion might be exactly what we need now, Lyra interrupted. Before the containment, they were developing promising theories in dimensional physics and adaptive defense systems. Who knows what they might have achieved if we had collaborated instead of isolated them? This is pointless speculation, the Cathar dismissed. Earth is behind the purge perimeter. Its civilization has regressed. They cannot help us now, even if we wished it. Lyra took a deep breath. There is something else the Council should know. I have been investigating anomalous incidents throughout GCU space for years. I believe humans may have maintained a presence beyond the purge perimeter, a clandestine network with advanced technology and significant resources. The chamber erupted in shock and disbelief. Shulmorth's compound eyes fixed on Lyra with cold fury. This is absurd. If humans were operating in our space, we would know. Would we? Lyra challenged. We didn't detect the Void Swarm until they attacked. Our sensor networks have proven inadequate, and there have been incidents, unexplained energy signatures, missing vessels, strange communications glitches, that align with what I believe is a hidden human infrastructure. Even if this fantasy were true, said the Draconi representative skeptically, why would humans help us now? We cast them out, imprison them in their home system. Because the Void Swarm threatens everyone, Lyra said simply, including Earth. After hours of heated debate, with a Void Swarm advancing relentlessly toward the heart of GCU space, a desperate decision was reached. A subcommittee, including Lyra, would attempt to make contact with Earth or any human presence that might still exist beyond Council knowledge. In a secure communication center, Lyra and a team of specialists worked to create a message that might penetrate the purge perimeter or be detected by any hidden human outposts. They broadcast it on all frequencies, including several that had been prohibited after strange signals were detected on them years earlier. The message was simple to all humans within range. The galaxy faces extinction from an entity known as the Void Swarm. The GC requests aid in this existential crisis. Respond on this frequency with protocols for secure communication. Days passed with no response. The Void Swarm continued its advance, consuming 3 more star systems. Hope began to fade among the Council leadership. Then, as Lyra sat alone in the communication center during night cycle, a response came, not through official channels, but directly to her personal communication device. The message contained only coordinates and a time. Without informing her superiors, Lyra took a small research vessel to the designated location, an unremarkable point in empty space several light years from Council headquarters. She waited, wondering if she had made a terrible mistake. Precisely at the designated time, space seemed to ripple before her ship. A vessel appeared, sleek, dark, and unlike any design she had ever seen. Before she could react, her communication system activated. "Officer Lyra," said a woman's voice. "I am Ambassador Ilara Vance. We have much to discuss." When Ilara Vance returned to the ShadowNet headquarters on Ethelberg, the Emergency Council was already in session. Admiral Marcus Thorne, Dr. Eris Thorne, Governor Chakraborty, and representatives from other sanctuary worlds listened as she described her meeting with Lyra. She confirmed everything our intelligence suggested, Ilara concluded. The Void Swarm is real, and it's unlike anything the GCU has encountered before. Their fleets are being decimated. Core worlds will begin falling within weeks. And now they want our help? Marcus said, his voice heavy with irony. After condemning us to extinction, not all of them supported the containment, Ilara reminded him. And Officer Lyra has been piecing together evidence of our existence for years. She's taken considerable personal risk to establish contact. The strategic question remains, said Governor Chakraborty. Do we intervene? The ShadowNet has remained hidden for 5 years. Revealing ourselves now would expose everything we've built. If the Void Swarm consumes the galaxy, our secrecy won't matter, Dr. Ayres pointed out. We've detected their activity at the edges of our sensor network. Their technology is concerning. The way they assimilate and repurpose other technologies suggests they would eventually discover our sanctuary worlds. So we fight them eventually no matter what, Marcus concluded. The question is whether we do it alone or alongside the GCU. A tense debate followed. Some argued for continuing their isolation. Let the GCU face the consequences of its decision to cast out humanity. Others advocated for selective aid, provide technology, but keep their full capabilities hidden. A third faction pushed for full intervention, reveal the ShadowNet, and join forces with the GCU against the common threat. Alara listened to all sides before speaking again. 5 years ago, I activated Duskfall because I believe in humanity's right to exist freely, to determine its own destiny. I still believe that. But our destiny is tied to this galaxy, whether the Council acknowledges it or not. She activated a holographic display, showing the projected path of the Void Swarm. If we wait until they reach our hidden territories, we fight alone, without the resources and knowledge the GCU still possesses. If we intervene now, we fight with potential allies on more favorable terms. And after, Marcus asked, if we succeed, do we simply fade back into the shadows? Or will the Council use our revelation as justification for more aggressive containment? That will depend on how we approach this, Alara said thoughtfully. Not as supplicants or saviors, but as equals offering partnership against a common threat. This is an opportunity not just to defeat the Void Swarm, but to redefine humanity's place in the galaxy. The debate continued through the night. In the end, it came down to a vote among the Leadership Council. The decision: humanity would reveal itself and offer aid to the GCU, but on its own terms. Within days, the Shadow Fleet began mobilizing. Over 5 years, it had grown to include hundreds of vessels equipped with technologies unknown to the GCU. The flagship Nemesis, commanded by Admiral Thorne, would lead the primary battle group. Dr. Ayres Thorne and his team equipped each ship with specialized modifications designed to counter what little they knew of Void Swarm capabilities. Ambassador Vance prepared to return to GCU space, not in secret this time, but the head of a fleet that would demonstrate humanity's true strength and resilience. The revelation of humanity's secret development shocked the GCU to its core. When Ambassador Vance arrived at Council headquarters aboard the Nemesis, escorted by 20 advanced warships that appeared seemingly from nowhere, the Council chambers fell into chaos. Tharhai Eldershal Morth was particularly outraged. This deception proves everything we feared. Humans have been operating illegally in Council space, developing prohibited technologies, establishing unauthorized colonies. We did what was necessary for survival, Alara replied calmly. When you abandoned us to die slowly in isolation, did you expect us to accept your judgment? Lyra, standing with the emergency response team, intervened. Elder, the Void Swarm has destroyed the Centauri defense line. They will reach Sanctum Station within days. We don't have time for recriminations. The Zenth Presidium leader's voice resonated with unusual firmness. Director Lyra is correct. The threat before us supersedes all other concerns. Ambassador Vance, what assistance can humanity offer? Alara activated a holographic display, showing the capabilities of the Shadow Fleet and the technologies they had developed. The Council representatives watched in stunned silence as she detailed advancements that had leaped decades beyond what should have been possible in just 5 years. We propose a joint operation, she concluded. Our fleet will spearhead the engagement. Your forces will provide support and containment to prevent Void Swarm units from breaking through our lines. Our scientists have already begun analyzing the data you've collected on their capabilities. Despite lingering resentment and suspicion, the Council had no choice but to accept. The combined defense force was hastily organized, with Admiral Thorne coordinating closely with GCU fleet commanders, many of whom struggled to hide their astonishment at humanity's technological evolution. Dr. Eris Thorne established a research hub on Sanctum Station, working alongside scientists from a dozen species to develop countermeasures against the Void Swarm's adaptive abilities. His easy brilliance and collaborative approach began to break down barriers that had existed for generations. The first major engagement came sooner than expected. A Void Swarm battle group, larger than any previously encountered, emerged from hyperspace near Sanctum Station itself, the heart of GCU scientific operations and temporarily humanity's command center. Admiral Thorne's voice was steady as he addressed the combined fleet. All vessels, assume battle formation Delta. Phase technology active. Implement targeting protocols as briefed. Remember, conventional weapons have limited effect. Use the modified quantum disruptors against their central nodes. The Shadow Fleet moved with precision that stunned their GCU counterparts. Ships phased in and out of normal space, appearing at unexpected vectors to strike at Void Swarm vessels before shifting away from counterattacks. Human-designed weapons created ruptures in the biomechanical structures of the enemy, preventing their regenerative capabilities from functioning. For the first time since the invasion began, the Void Swarm was forced into retreat. The victory, though limited, sent a surge of hope through the Allied forces. In the aftermath, as damage reports came in and repair operations began, Lyra found Ambassador Vance observing the station's central atrium, where humans and aliens work side by side. "You know, we're not so different," Lyra said, joining her at the railing. Alara smiled slightly. "I've always believed that. Differences in biology, culture, even approach to technology. These are strengths when shared, not threats to be contained." The Council was wrong about humanity, Lyra admitted. "I suspected as much even before the Void Swarm appeared. Your secrecy was impressive. How many are you? How extensive is your hidden network?" "Extensive enough that we could have remained hidden indefinitely," Alara replied. "But isolation isn't the answer for any civilization. Connection, cooperation, these are what drive true progress." Before Lyra could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. The central display showed multiple Void Swarm vessels emerging from hyperspace, far more than in the previous engagement. "They've adapted already," Lyra whispered, her silvery eyes wide with fear. The next battle proved more challenging. Though the Allied forces fought valiantly, the Void Swarm had indeed adapted to many of their tactics. Several Shadow Fleet vessels were lost, along with dozens of GCU ships. Sanctum Station itself took damage, forcing a partial evacuation. In the Emergency Command Center, Dr. Eris Thorne worked frantically alongside his multi-species research team. "They're learning from each encounter," he explained to Admiral Thorne and the GCU commanders. "Their neural network appears to distribute information instantly across all units. Then we need to attack that network," Marcus concluded. "Target their communication capabilities." Eris shook his head. "It's not that simple. Their communication method isn't something we can jam or disrupt with conventional means. It appears to operate on principles similar to quantum entanglement, but with a biological component we don't fully understand." A Cthar scientist named Zelkareth, who had been analyzing captured Void Swarm fragments, suddenly looked up. "What about your phase technology? If their network operates across dimensional boundaries, perhaps we could introduce a phase-shifted disruption signal." Eris considered this, his mind racing through possibilities. "It could work, but we need to deliver the disruptor directly to their command node. What we believe is their central processing unit." "And where is that?" asked a GCU commander skeptically. Lyra accessed the strategic display. "Based on movement patterns and energy signatures, we believe their command structure is housed in this vessel." She highlighted an enormous Void Swarm ship at the center of their formation. "It never engages directly in combat, and all other units seem to protect it." "Then that's our target," Marcus decided. but reaching it will require breaking through their entire defensive line. Not necessarily, Eris said slowly, an idea forming. If we could phase shift a small vessel with the disruptor aboard, it might pass through their defenses undetected. A suicide mission, Marcus said grimly. The phase shift couldn't be maintained once the disruptor was activated. Whoever delivered, it would be inside the command ship with no way out. Silence fell over the command center as the implications sank in. Then a voice spoke from the doorway. I'll do it. All heads turned to see Ambassador Illyra Vance, her expression resolute. No, Marcus said immediately. You're too valuable as a diplomatic link between our peoples. Which is precisely why it should be me, Illyra countered. This isn't just about defeating the Void Swarm. It's about reshaping the relationship between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. What better symbol than a human ambassador sacrificing herself to save everyone? The debate was intense, but brief. In the end, Illyra's logic prevailed. As preparations began for what they called Operation Sundering, Dr. Thorne modified a small courier vessel with the most advanced phase technology available and installed the quantum disruptor, a device that would create a cascading failure throughout the Void Swarm's neural network. When the time came, Illyra addressed a joint session of human and GCU leadership. I volunteered for this mission because I believe in a future where all sentient species work together, where diversity is seen as strength rather than threat. 5 years ago, I activated Dustfall to ensure humanity's survival. Today, I act to ensure all our survival. The final battle began with a massive coordinated assault. The Shadow Fleet and GCU forces engaged the Void Swarm in what appeared to be a conventional attack. While the enemy's attention was focused on the main battle, Illyra's small vessel, with Dr. Eris Thorne making last-minute adjustments to the phase systems, prepared to launch. The shift will last approximately 6 minutes, Eris explained. That should give you enough time to navigate to the command node's core. Once there, activate the disruptor and the effect should be immediate. Illyra nodded, her expression calm despite the knowledge that this was a one-way journey. Take care of our people, Doctor, and perhaps help them understand each other a little better. As her ship launched and disappeared into phase space, the battle raged across the sector. Admiral Thorne commanded with grim determination, keeping the Void Swarm occupied while his brother's calculations guided Illyra toward her target. Minutes stretched like hours. Then, without warning, the Void Swarm vessels began to falter. Their coordinated movements became erratic. Energy fluctuations rippled across their biomechanical hulls. She did it, Lyra whispered, watching from the command center as the enemy fleet began to disintegrate. The victory was complete, but costly. The Void Swarm threat was eliminated, its neural network destroyed by Illyra's sacrifice. Both human and GCU forces had suffered heavy losses, and the galaxy now faced a new reality, one where humanity could no longer be ignored or contained. In the weeks that followed, a new council formed, not to replace the GCU, but to reorganize it into a more equitable alliance. The new Galactic Federation recognized humanity as a full and equal member, with Ambassador Lyra, having resigned her GCU position, serving as the liaison between former council species and human representatives. The sanctuary worlds were revealed, their technological and cultural achievements integrated into the wider galactic community. The Purge perimeter was dismantled, allowing Earth to reconnect with its scattered children. The Shadow Fleet became the core of a new, unified defense force designed to protect all Federation worlds. On a clear day 1 year after the final battle, Admiral Marcus Thorne and Dr. Eris Thorne stood with representatives from a dozen species at the dedication of a memorial on the newly constructed Federation capital station. At its center stood a simple holographic display showing Ambassador Illyra Vance as she had appeared that final day, resolute, hopeful, and unafraid. Marcus stepped forward to address the assembly. 5 years ago, the Council banned humanity. They believed they were protecting the galaxy from us. What they didn't understand was that it was already too late. Not because we couldn't be stopped, but because we had already become an essential part of this galaxy's future. He gestured to the diverse gathering before him. Today we stand together, different in form, in thought, in culture, but united in purpose. My brother's research team now includes scientists from 8 species, collaborating on technologies that will benefit all our worlds. Our fleet includes officers and crew from across the Federation, learning from each other's strengths. Eris joined his brother, adding his own perspective. The Void Swarm nearly destroyed us all because they viewed diversity as weakness, as contamination to be purged. Our victory came when we embraced our differences instead of fearing them. As the ceremony concluded and the assembled representatives dispersed to continue building their new alliance, Lyra remained behind with the Thorn brothers, gazing at Alaire's memorial. She would be proud, Lyra said softly. This is what she envisioned when she came to that first meeting with me. Not just human survival, but a true partnership among all sentient beings. It's still a work in progress, Marcus acknowledged. Old fears and prejudices don't disappear overnight, but they do disappear, Eris added with uncharacteristic optimism, when we focus on what we can accomplish together rather than what we fear in each other. As a new day dawned across the galaxy, vessels of a unified fleet, some bearing the sleek designs of the Shadow Fleet, others the distinctive architecture of various Federation members, patrolled together in harmony. Research stations hummed with collaborative energy as minds from 100 worlds worked to solve common problems. And on countless planets, colony ships brought human settlers back to worlds they had once been forbidden to visit. The Council had banned humanity, believing they were neutralizing a threat. What they hadn't understood was that it was already too late. Humanity had already become an indispensable thread in the complex tapestry of galactic civilization. And in that revelation came not destruction, but salvation for all.